Good afternoon, everyone. It's Hanifa Menon from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about a concept that is discussed in a lot of spirituality in terms of what happens in this life journey and what is the goal. And we can look at, again, spirituality as a general concept, or we can look at religion, and a lot of people think of getting to a place like heaven. And even within non-dual thinking, there are these ideas of the stories that have been shared, and that I shared a little bit about Ram and Sita, and of course today I'm going to share something about what is known as the king of the heavens, which is Indra. Indra is the king of the heavens. So this is again a name that's used, and I would say that it actually would closely relate to what many would think of as God in terms of the heaven hell thinking, in terms of duality thinking. So remember that Advaita Vedanta is non-dual, and non-dual thinking in general also comes through in things like Buddhism and Jainism, and this idea of non-dual. And then there's duality in terms of things like Islam, Christianity, Judaism, and again, so many that I am not mentioning that are there that you might be part of. And again, no offense to anyone whose religion or spirituality that I'm not covering here, but you'll know where you might have your training in or beliefs in. And it's interesting in this perspective of thinking of Indra being this king of the heavens. And again, I'm mentioning that God, as we know it in duality perspective, is very much similar, that there is a God there when people die, and if they have done all of the good actions, they get to a place called heaven, and will eventually meet with God. And this idea of there is the king of heaven tells us a little bit about there's the people, the gods in this perspective, and then there's the one that's above all of it, which is the king, the ruler. And so we can see that even in a heavenly realm that is thought of this way, there is a little bit of difference in terms of there's the God, and there's the God also, or the ruler of the gods is above. That sort of idea that we might think of, okay, this is one step lower than the God of this space. Now, non-duality also talks about, and so does regular duality religion, talks about the divine coming through each person, and there's no level or difference in that. So what divine energy comes through this form and this mind is the same as what comes through every other living form and mind. And of course, our minds are different from being human as opposed to the mind of a plant, the mind of an animal. It's a little bit different, yet the energy that flows through is the same. Then we come back to Indra, and Indra in the heavens. I want you to know that even in that space, there's a lot of greed, there's a lot of power, there's a lot of jealousy, there's a lot of, so these are all part of the stories that people read about or can read about. And in the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 3, there's actually this statement that I thought was very useful for the average person to hear about and understand and practice and apply to life from our understanding first. So this quotation, this is again chapter 3, text 40, it says, "The senses, the mind, and the intelligence are the sitting places of this lust. Through them, lust covers the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders him." So this is the senses, the mind, and the intelligence. If we think about our senses are constantly sensing. We're constantly feeling the things around us. We're definitely aware of temperature changes. We're aware of a gentle touch. We're aware of a rough touch. We're aware of things we like to eat, things we do not like to eat, things we like to smell, we do not like to smell, things we like to hear, we don't like to hear. So notice that there's this like and dislike in these spaces, and this is the senses. And then the mind is also, and you might have heard of the term the sixth sense, is the mind is of course governing all of this in our own selves. That we look at this, there's this idea we can understand that no matter which senses are being pulled at. So if I'm not very hungry and I go by a great restaurant, I'm really not pulled to look at that restaurant or feel like, oh, I wish I could be there, because when my sense is satiated, I'm okay. But if I'm really hungry and I walk by that restaurant, oh boy, it will be drawing to my eyes. It'll be very satisfying to my nose, and this is where this lust comes in, that, oh, I could so use that, I so want to get that, I so would like that. And this is interesting. Now, without any external stimulation, our mind can do the same thing, that we can just be thinking about, what do I want to eat tonight? Oh yeah, that's what I want to eat, and I will try to look for that place or that type of food or that idea. That it's a lust of the mind, it's a lust of the senses. When we're going beyond in terms of our senses could be controlling us. So imagine, let's say you've eaten a great meal, and I'm just using this sense as an example because it's easy. You've eaten a great meal, and then you smell something that is even better. Whatever you had for lunch, for example, let's say you had a sandwich and you suddenly smell your favorite meal. So you smell this pasta dish cooking, or you smell a barbecue or something. You smell bread, something that really draws you, and you think, oh, yeah, my sandwich is okay, but boy, that smells good. Yeah, I'll just have a little bit more. And this is our senses controlling our mind. Now, when we haven't had the experience outside of us where the sense has been stimulated, we can just be thinking about, oh, yeah, that sandwich is good, but I would really like this sort of bread. I would really like this type of sandwich, whichever way I might think of it. Now, without the external senses, just my mind itself is directing me in a particular direction. And this is why we can often look at this sense perception as being kind of the ruler of our minds, or our minds ruling these sense or directing these sense perceptions. And there's something beyond that too. So we know that it's a part of the intellect that actually says, you've already eaten. This takes intelligence to say, you've already eaten, you don't need to have something else to eat, and we can avoid that next meal, that extra meal. Sometimes we know that it's not a good food for us in general, and yet the mind will keep on at us that, you really could go for that, and you haven't had that for a long time, so why not just have a little bit? So it could be fried food, it could be sweets, it could be ones you already know that your cholesterol is high, and yet you're drawn to these foods because the mind will keep on thinking about it. And this is interesting to understand, that this is, again, the regular mind will do this and has a tendency to do this. It'll get fixated on certain ideas or thoughts or memories. And then there is the intelligence beyond that. So intelligence has reason, and it will understand that, your blood work showed that your cholesterol is very high. It would be better not to eat it. And this is interesting because we can override that intelligence. We can say, no, you know what, I totally deserve this and I really want it, so I'm going to have it. And this is for any sense perception. So remember that sense perceptions can involve anything involving touch, can involve taste, can involve sight, can involve hearing, and can involve just the mind creating this. And the mind is a great source of dissipating energy. Now you can imagine that if in a day, which for most of us in the day, the mind is taking a lot of the energy, and what will happen is people will often go through a day where they haven't actually even done much, but they're so tired, they get home and they're like, I'm just tired. Or perhaps they've been home all day. They say, I can just fall asleep at the drop of a hat. I can just be sitting on a chair and I just nod off. And they're aware the mind is tired because all of these sorts of things are running in the background for every single mind. And it is a very strong dissipation of energy. So then when we look at this space and we even think of heaven, when we think about even when people are doing very good actions in this world, right here, right now, in this life, in this form, how much time are we spending on sense objects, sense thoughts, sense pursuits, and in understanding and rising above those sensual, lusty cravings. And again, lust can come through any of these organs. I know many of the time we might think of lust as purely sensual or sexual, but lust, according to this quotation that I just read you, this lust comes through all of the senses. The lust is also coming through the mind, and it's for any senses and any desires that we really are craving. And to get beyond this is to get to that place of intelligence and reason, and getting beyond that is what uncovers the real knowledge. So this is what I wanted to make sure that you understand. I've certainly created a course about this called Eyesight, and you'll see it on my YouTube channel too. Try to go in order from 1 to 5 and understand that there is a way for us to get beyond this. But today, if I would encourage you about anything, and I will, is to get beyond the senses. So when we are automatically drawn to, I want to do this, and so I will do it. And we all do this. We all do this with things that we like. If I like reading, I will be drawn to that. The easier thing, rather than just saying none of that, is replace your thought with something that's higher, that's more valuable long term, valuable not only to get to heaven, but to get beyond that space of, even in heaven, if we know that there is this fighting and discord and jealousy and craving and sense perceptions there too, can we get to a space where we are the ones in control of what thoughts and what actions we take on? So today you might choose to read something spiritual, something deeper, something more meaningful, and reflect on it. And that's simple. And it could be one sentence, one quotation like this. It could be one book. It could be a page of a book. It could be sitting and reflecting. It could be meditating. Do something a little beyond what your normal style of go and regular patterns of action, without truly understanding and using the intellect in our minds to understand that this is what's happening. I smelled this, and this is why I feel like eating this, and I'm not really hungry, but I'm going to choose not to have it. You know, very soon there's going to be a time that in Christianity is going to be Lent, which is the time of letting go of something or stopping something, and many people will fast in this time. Now, fasting, I will also make another video about this, but it's on the same page, where it's about controlling the senses, controlling our normal actions, controlling ourselves. And I actually don't know any spiritual tradition or religion that doesn't use fasting at some times. And it is for the same purpose if we truly understand this. I also want to make sure that we also understand that in those times when we say none of this, you will see that the sooner you can have something, or as soon as you can have something, most people will lean towards the things that were really not good. So let's say I fasted all day. It's a full fast. I haven't eaten anything from sunrise to sunset. How's that? Sunrise to sunset, I've not eaten anything. I've done this fast for this day. This was my intention. And let's say either at sunset or perhaps the next day, maybe I decide to do the whole day and okay, no food this day. As soon as I allow myself that, okay, you've done the work, good for you, I might go for the least healthy food. So I might go for a greasy burger and fries just because, oh, I'm so hungry and that's so good. That so hits a spot, and I was so good yesterday. So we reward ourselves. And isn't that just the heaven on this earth that we're making for ourselves? And isn't there a little bit of guilt, a little bit of unhappiness in that moment too, that even though we could really enjoy that burger and fries, if someone's got high cholesterol and they've eaten this, the least useful choice, after that enjoyment of that moment, there's going to be a little bit of guilt. And that guilt is the same energy as things like greed or lust or anger or sadness or all of those less than useful energies that happen even in the heavens. So even during the time that we're having this heavenly experience of, wow, what an accomplishment, I did something great, we will soon follow it with that other side of that experience of, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I did it for one day. I could have done 2 days, or I could have at least had healthy food when I first started eating again. And this is what I leave with you today, that if we can see our lust for our senses in any moment, can we use the mind to be aware of it? And sometimes it's the mind that's making us aware of it that wants it, and then use the intellect to reason through it. And even for only a day, a moment, an experience, a meal, make a plan. I'd encourage you to be in control of your senses. Today, I wish that blessing for all of us, because when we are controlling our senses, oh boy, can spiritual energy flow into us. I wish that for you and for all of us, and I wish you a fantastic day ahead. Know that this is a very powerful space that we can remember, reacquire, and reconnect with for huge power in life in so many different ways. I wish you that abundance, and I hope you remember, transform your life if you transform your mind. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.